Okay, so today we are going to be doing a painting of a mountain range. You'll see here that I have found a piece of mountain card here, and I've chosen a particularly long one to work on. You don't have to have a long one like that, it could be any size or shape, but I thought I'd use it seeing as I had it. And we're going to be using acrylics, and you can see I have put all my acrylics out in a nice row in colour coordination, which I tend to do while I'm preparing myself for what I'm going to work on. So we're going to do the background first of all, and I want the background to have quite a nice warm glow to it of an orangey pink. Now I don't have a huge amount of orange, so I'm being very careful with the amount of orange that I've put onto my palette. Of course I know I can make it, but sometimes it's nice to use the actual colour. So I've mixed up a nice warm light glow. So I've used a basic orange acrylic, as you can see it's very old and not much there. Permanent orange it's called. I've got a rose, permanent rose here, and a titanium white here. It doesn't matter if you don't have the exact colours, something like that. Now I have chosen today to do a painting of mountains that is going to have quite a warm bluey purple feel to it with this orangey glow. And when I laid out my paints today, I realised that I don't have a huge amount of blues and purples. In fact, I have no purple at all. So I'm going to have to be making my colours today with this picture. Now you can do this in a couple of stages because it's acrylic. It should dry fairly fast. So a nice big blending brush like the one I have here, and I am just going to put down a base of colour over the whole lot. It is to give it a nice background colour. On my information that I've sent out to you today, I have given you some artists to look at that have done some mountain ranges, so please have a look at those. You can choose any type of mountain range that you want to do. You do not have to copy what I've done, but of course you can if you want to. This paint's quite old and I've got quite a lot of bits coming into it. I'm sure that most of you are well aware acrylic is not my usual paint that I use, and therefore I've managed to get myself a whole load of old paint to use here. With my camera that I'm using, it's quite difficult to get the whole piece of work into view at the same time. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to see it well enough. So, as I said before, this is just a piece of mount board that has been cut from having a painting mounted on it. So that's all I'm using here. It's quite a nice thing to work on too. And we'll be using acrylics throughout this piece of work. So I'm blending it in now. Used up all my orange there. Never mind. Now if you wanted to, you could do a very light yellow background. Yellow is always a very good colour for a background. It gives it a nice warm glow, I seem to have been picking up all kinds of things. To be fair, it's a good idea if you start working on a clean surface table, not on the table that I've chosen to work on, which has been used for potting plants, which is really why I'm getting a whole load of earth and stuff in it. Okay, so this is now dry. I've cleaned down my tabletop a bit, and we're going to mix up some purpley colours to do for the background sky. So, as I said before, I don't have any purple, so I'm going to make my own. I have the pink left over from the rose that I was using, Permanent Rose. I have some phthalo blue here, cobalt blue, and a maroon here. And I'm just going to, and also some white, get some light purple with the rose and the cobalt. And this obviously will make quite a lot darker over here. Okay, so that's gone almost like a brown, that one, but that's fine. We can use that. So I'm going to sponge this on to here. I've got a few sponges. I've got this quite a large one and a smaller one. Just going to put some more water onto this and make it so there. If you don't have a sponge like this, you can get yourself any sponge that has holes in it, basically. So you've got some texture that you can get down onto the piece of paper. If you have a sponge that doesn't have many holes in it, then it's unlikely that they'll get much texture in it. So sometimes those, I don't know what they're called, but the sponges where you can use for cleaning, those flat ones, they're quite good. Or you could use a nail brush. You should be able to get some texture down with this. Now for the next bit of the mountains. I have in my palette some white, and I have also used some burnt umber here and some maroon here, some of the phthalo blue and some of the permanent rose to make a purple, and I've also got some Naples yellow. I'm going to use a selection of large brushes, and I'm just going to be putting on some very light colours today, and then we can go in later and do the shadows. So I've got a massive brush here. Now this colour that I'm picking up on my brush here is white with the tiniest bit of purple into it, just to take the edge off the white. So it's nearly white, but not completely. And you can see, hopefully, by using my big brush, I'm getting some nice big areas of the paint going on, which I'm using in different directions. I'm kind of making up where the mountains are. I've got a long range of mountains here, so just lots of different directions as we go along from one side to the next, thinking about nice jagged edges. Different directions to get the different facets of the mountains, because we're going to be putting light onto them. So hopefully that will help us decide where things go. So that's my first bit. It's got a bit messy down there. Let's give it a bit of a peek. There we are. So a nice big brush there. Going to then move on to this. These are just ordinary painting brushes, as you can see. I'm going to move on to the next brush here. Now this is a white with a tiny bit of the umber in it. So I'm going to mix those together because I hardly want to see any change at all in the colour. I don't know whether you can see that there is a bit of change there, but it's not a lot. I'm just going to put some of these down into the mountains on top. So I'm going along doing this. Just to give it a bit of warmth there. Then I'm really going to go for a much darker colour. I mixed these up a while back actually, and then I realised the battery in my camera was off, so I've actually started to dry a bit.